There are moments when God feels silent, not distant, not absent, just quiet, and that silence meets a mind that refuses to rest. Psalm 62 says that the soul finds rest in God alone, yet your thoughts feel anything but still. You pray, and instead of answers, you hear your own mind echo louder, replaying fears, questions, imagined outcomes. After all you've seen God do, after all you believe, the quiet feels confusing, unsettling. You wonder why heaven seems calm while your inner world feels noisy, why the God who once spoke through fire now seems wrapped in silence, and in that tension, your thoughts rush in to fill the gap. Because when the mind is loud, silence can feel like abandonment, even when it isn't. Elijah knew this contrast well, only days after fire fell from heaven, after victory on Mount Carmel, after seeing God answer publicly and powerfully. His inner world collapsed into noise, fear, urgency, exhaustion. The God who had spoken through fire was now silent, and Elijah's mind filled the space with panic and escape. He ran, not because God failed, but because the adrenaline faded and the silence felt unbearable. This is the hidden aftermath of spiritual intensity, when the external victory ends and the internal noise begins. When faith is real, miracles are fresh, yet the mind cannot find rest, and the silence of God feels louder than any word he has spoken. After Mount Carmel, Elijah did not lose faith. He lost quietness. The fire proved God's power, but it did not settle his thoughts. Psalm 62 speaks of a rest that comes not from answers, but from waiting. My soul finds rest in God alone. Yet waiting feels impossible when the mind is crowded, when silence leaves room for fear to speak, for memory to replay threats, for imagination to predict collapse. God's silence is not empty, but the noisy mind cannot hear what is gentle, cannot rest where there is no immediate reassurance. Elijah expected the same God who answered with fire to answer again with noise. But God was teaching him something deeper, that rest is not found in intensity, but in stillness, not in constant proof, but in trust. And until the mind slows, even divine silence can feel unbearable. Elijah's mind became loud in the space where God was quiet. The threats of Jezebel echoed louder than the fire he had just witnessed. Because the human mind does not rest automatically after victory. It often races, replays, anticipates danger. Psalm 62 does not describe a soul that is instantly calm. It describes a soul that waits, that chooses stillness in the presence of unanswered silence. Elijah did not hear God immediately because his inner world was still shouting. Fear was speaking. Urgency was demanding movement. Exhaustion was distorting perception. And when the mind is noisy, even divine nearness can feel absent. God was not gone, but Elijah's thoughts were too crowded to notice him. This is the quiet struggle of faith after intensity, learning that silence is not rejection. It is an invitation to slow down enough for rest to finally arrive. This is where the soul learns a different kind of faith, not the faith that waits for fire, but the faith that rests in quiet trust. Psalm 62 does not promise noise from heaven. It promises rest in God alone, even when the mind is still learning how to be still. Elijah was not abandoned in the silence. He was being led through it, toward a place where God would meet him gently when the noise finally softened. This moment is not here to force calm. It is here to invite surrender, to stop filling God's silence with fear, assumptions, or imagined conclusions, and instead allow rest to slowly guard the heart. So breathe. Let the racing thoughts pass without following them, and trust that God's quiet does not mean distance. It means presence without pressure, a rest that does not shout, but sustains, as we now begin to pray. My God, I come to you tired inside, not because life is loud, but because my own mind will not rest. I long for you. I believe in you, yet I feel surrounded by noise within me, thoughts speaking all at once, fears asking questions. You do not answer, worries filling the space where I hoped your voice would be. Your word says my soul finds rest in you alone, yet right now, my soul feels anything but still. I wait, and the silence stretches. I pray, and the noise continues. And I wonder if something is wrong with me, or if I have missed you somehow. I remember Elijah after the fire on Mount Carmel, bold in faith one moment, then broken and overwhelmed the next, hiding, exhausted, confused, running while still believing. And I realize, silence does not mean you are gone. It means you are near in a way my noise has not learned to recognize yet. So I remain here, speaking honestly, listening weakly, hoping quietly, waiting for my soul to catch up with your presence. Lord, when you are silent, my mind does not stay quiet. It fills the empty space with questions, with memories, with imagined outcomes, with fears that grow louder the longer you do not speak. I replay my prayers, wondering if I said the wrong words. I search my heart, wondering if I disappointed you. I listen for signs, for feelings, for something to confirm you are still with me, still with. And when nothing comes, my thoughts begin to accuse me, telling me I lack faith, that if I truly trusted you, I would feel calm. But my soul is tired, and like Elijah in the wilderness, I feel the weight of exhaustion more than the strength of victory. I believe you are God, yet my mind races ahead of my faith, teaching me that silence can feel heavier than storms, and waiting can feel harder than fighting. Still, I bring this restless mind to you, because even in silence, you are the only place my soul can rest. My God, I admit that I expected you to speak loudly, to answer quickly, to calm my thoughts with clear direction, like fire falling from heaven, like victory that leaves no doubt. But after Mount Carmel, you met Elijah not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in a gentle whisper. And I see myself in that moment, worn down by noise, unable to hear you because my mind is still shaking. I realize now that your silence is not punishment. It is preparation. You are not absent. You are teaching my soul to listen differently, to stop demanding proof, to stop measuring your closeness by how loud you speak. My thoughts may be racing, but you are not rushing. You are patient, steady, present, and even when my mind cannot be still, you remain the quiet strength beneath it all, holding me when I cannot hold my peace. Lord, in this waiting, I feel the gap between what I believe and what I experience. I know you are my refuge, yet my thoughts keep knocking at the door of fear. Psalm 62 says, "My soul finds rest in you alone," but rest feels distant when my mind will not slow down. I try to force peace. I try to silence myself, and I fail again and again. Then I see Elijah under the broom tree, asking to give up, not because he stopped believing, but because he was empty. And you did not correct him. You did not preach to him. You gave him rest, food, and time. And I begin to understand. You are not asking me to conquer my mind. You are inviting me to care for my soul, to rest without answers, to trust without clarity, to remain with you even when peace comes slowly. My God, I see now that my noisy mind is not proof of weak faith. It is often the sign of a tired heart. I have been running, thinking, worrying, holding everything together on the inside, while telling myself I should be stronger, quieter, more trusting. But you met Elijah in his weakness, not with judgment, but with gentleness. You let him sleep, you fed him, you stayed near while he recovered. And in this, I feel permission to stop striving, to stop demanding instant peace, to stop believing that faith means calm thoughts at all times. I bring you my tired mind as it is, busy, loud, confused, trusting that you are not overwhelmed by it. Even now, while you remain silent, your care is speaking, reminding my soul that rest begins not when the noise stops, but when I stop running from you. Dear God, I speak to you now, not as someone who understands everything, but as someone who needs you. I need you when my thoughts are louder than your silence. I need you when I cannot tell if I am waiting in faith or just lost in my own mind. You are my Lord, my refuge, my strength, even when I do not feel strong at all. Teach me to stay with you without demanding answers, to trust you without hearing explanations, to believe you are working even when nothing seems to change. You are not distant. You are not ignoring me. You are the same God who watched over Elijah in the cave, who listened before speaking, who waited until the heart was ready to hear. So I stay here, dear Father, holding on to you, not with perfect peace, but with honest dependence, trusting that your quiet presence is enough for my restless soul. Dear God, when the silence lasts longer than I expect, my mind tries to take control. It fills the quiet with fear, with imagined endings, with worries that feel urgent but lead nowhere. I forget that you are not rushed, that you do not speak out of pressure. You speak out of purpose, like Elijah waiting in the cave. I learned that you were never in the chaos of my thoughts. You were beneath it, steady and calm, while I searched everywhere else. Teach me to stop chasing noise, to stop interpreting silence as rejection, to stop believing that unanswered prayers mean unheard prayers. You are still my Lord, still my shepherd, still leading even when I cannot see the path. And in this long quiet, help my soul learn what my mind resists, that waiting with you is not wasted time. It is holy ground. Dear God, you are my Father, my Lord, my refuge when my thoughts overwhelm me. I speak to you with reverence, yet also with need, because you are high above all and still close to my heart. When your silence meets my noisy mind, remind me that you are not absent. You are present in a deeper way. You are teaching me to trust your character, not my feelings, to lean on who you are, not on what I hear. You are faithful, unchanging, steady, even when my inner world is unstable, like Elijah. I learn that your whisper comes after I stop demanding signs, after I stop chasing proof, after I remain before you long enough. So I stay here, before you, Almighty God, not because I am calm, but because you are, and that is enough to hold me. God, I am learning that my soul does not rest because my mind becomes quiet. It rests because you remain faithful. You are my Lord, my anchor, my safe place when thoughts rise and fall like waves. I stop asking you to remove every noise at once, and I begin to ask you to hold me while the noise passes. You are teaching me that silence is not emptiness. It is space where trust grows. Like Elijah, I see that the journey did not end in the cave. It continued after you spoke softly. And even now, before clarity comes, before answers form, you are already sustaining me. I choose to wait with you, not because waiting is easy, but because you are worthy of my trust, and my soul finds rest, not in understanding, but in you alone. Father, I finish this prayer still waiting, but no longer afraid of the silence. You are my Father, my Lord, my strength, and my rest. even when my mind remains loud. I no longer see your quiet as distance, but as care, as patience, as love working deeper than words. My soul rests in you alone, not because everything is resolved, but because you are enough. Like Elijah, I rise slowly, not rushed, not driven by fear, but sustained by your presence. I trust that you will speak when the time is right. And until then, you will remain with me, holding me steady, teaching me to rest while I wait. I stay before you now, reverent, dependent, hopeful, believing that the God who is silent is still the God who saves, and in you, even my noisy mind can learn to rest. Amen.